quick glance of the many services that we provide. And if you ever have any questions about any of these services, I'm always happy to chat with you more about that another time. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of our website. So STEMworks originally was launched in 1999. So quite a while ago already, as Women in Technology. And that was by our CEO and founder, Leslie Wilkin. And this was really to help build gender equity and to encourage girls, women, Native Hawaiian, and underrepresented groups to pursue STEM education and career. So gender equity is really at the heart of everything we do. And note that, it's not just we focus on girls, but there are disparity across STEM sectors. So we do offer, our programs have lots and lots of boys in them too, but we want to try to even out that disparity in very specific fields. So women only make up right now about 28% of the workforce in science, technology, engineering, and math, and men are vastly outnumbering women in majoring in many STEM fields in college. And it's cut off here, but these gender gaps are really particularly high in engineering and in computer science. I know there's starting to be a shift in a lot of the environmental sciences. When I was getting my master's, a lot of the oceanography classes at UH Manoa were all girls, which is a very big shift because the professors were all men at the time. So we are starting to see some shifts in sectors, but engineering and computer science still have a big gap. And the reason this is we want to, gender equity is so important in this, as you all know, is those engineering jobs and computer science jobs often tend to be our highest paid job. And so it's also, closing the gap in what women are paid and what they're able to make in the workforce. So where are the girls? In our program, in our after school programs, we see this gap even in the after school program at the intermediate level and the elementary level. So for our intermediate school girls, most of them are electing, they have the choice to elect what STEM classes they want to take in our program. They elect to take creative media, digital illustration, and Tinker clubs. Our engineering and robotics programs are majority boys, and just because they are self-selecting, where would they like to go, what would they like to learn. What we see is girls tend to be a little bit more driven by creativity, storytelling, and mission driven. They want to do things that are in service to the community, that allow them to be creative. And that's not to say that engineering robotics isn't creative or doesn't allow you to tell a story or isn't mission driven, but it's often how programs are presented. So I am a member of the Engineering Sector Partnership, and I was alarmed this year that I saw elementary flyers for engineering going out across different engineering programs in the DOE that were all superheroes. Well, if you're gonna have boy superheroes like Batman for engineering, you're targeting a certain population. And even just thinking about, what are those graphics that we're using to draw folks into these programs? Another one that I noticed in the IT sector partnership is they were doing a lot of fantasy sports for data science. Well, how does fantasy sports for data science? That's not to say girls don't like sports, but you're really targeting boys. And so we have to think how we present these different programs in engineering, robotics, and how we start to shift our thinking about, what is engineering and what is robotics. So engineering, even if we break engineering out, engineering is a big sector. If we break it out by gender, we see a lot more girls going more towards, or women at this point, going towards environmental engineering, civil engineering, chemical engineering, and less in the mechanical and the computer engineering. So how do we shift this? How do we make this a little bit more equal? Well, one of the things that we're doing at STEMworks is we do these programs like Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. This was our 22nd year of doing Girl Day. And this year what we did is we make sure that our girls are exposed to other women that are professionals in their field, and a diverse group of women that are professionals in their field. So we introduced them to aerospace engineering, agricultural, biochemical, civil, electrical, mechanical. We have women from all of these sectors. And we have them presented in a way that is really attractive to other girls. So you're doing something good, you're solving problems. Engineers don't just build things. So there's this conception that an engineer just builds things. And I really love like our biochemical example. She works with material scientists and developed a new, from plants, she developed a new material to be an artificial leather for purses and fabrics and the fashion industry. And so we're able to show how engineering can maybe, it cross-sects with some of these interests that our girls have at the intermediate and elementary level. We also present things in like chemistry. So they learn about acid and base reaction with bath bombs. So we had them develop bath bombs and they got to create their own bath bomb and they were able to learn about these acid-base reaction and polymers, chemical reactions, and thermochromism using this color changing slime. So we try to think about activities in engineering and activities in computer science that are going to be attractive to girls that aren't superhero based, that aren't, fantasy sports based, and has some service to the community. So in our computer science and AI, with code.org, we learn about AI in the context of oceans and marine debris and how we can use AI to help our planet. And then at the higher level, we have what are called are robotic prosthetic hands. So it's not you're just building a robot, but you're building a robot to help somebody that has a disability that may have lost a limb or lost a hand. And we also have what are called their brain control interfaces, and they can learn how to program a brain control interface to make the hand do some motion. So this is our more high school level. We did have some intermediate level students doing this. So this is getting us out of the Vex robotics, out of the Lego robotics, and into the space where they're learning computer science and AI to serve the community, to help people, and they have an opportunity to be creative here. Okay, so any questions about that's just a really quick snapshot. I wanted to do a little hands-on activity with you, so we're all engaged here today. But any questions about our programs or approach that we take at STEMworks? If there's any questions today at all, feel free to put them in the chat and interrupt me anytime. Oh, Lori says, yeah, she had a similar experience, male instructors and professors, none were female. Yeah, for my master's program, I didn't have a single female professor. I went to a different department to meet one, and she became a really wonderful mentor for me. Okay, so so my background is I have a master's in geology and geophysics and working on a PhD in geospatial sciences. And what I love about geospatial sciences is it combines storytelling plus mapping technologies plus data science all in one spot. So I wanted to give you all a little taste of how easy and quick and easy it is to get into mapping using ArcGIS online. And I just wanted to mention that at STEMworks, we do provide ArcGIS online educational account for any student who wants one in the K through 12 space. So let's go ahead over and I'll do a little demo and then I'll show you a result from one of my girls, a story that she made using geospatial technologies. Let's go ahead over to arcgis.com. Did anyone or everyone create an account? I'll give you a second if you haven't, but I hope you'll follow along with me. Can you give me a yes or no in the chat if you're ready to go? Yeah, go ahead and create a free trial. So this will just be a taste. So I have an account. So my setup is going to look a little different than yours, but you'll still be able to do what I'm going to show you. And if any of you want official educational accounts, you can email me afterwards and I'm happy to help get you started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And I have two accounts. I'm going to use this one for today. Okay, now your dashboard isn't going to have all the things that mine has because as an official account, I have a lot more apps and a lot more things that I can do. But once you sign in, everybody at the top will have some stuff up here. You're not going to have content or organization, but you will all have that map button. So for those of you that are signed in, are you able to see your map button in the top toolbar? Okay, give me some yes or no, or if folks just prefer to watch. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to the map button. Go to the classic version. Okay, so in ArcGIS Online, one thing I always start out with when I'm teaching GIS is to ask students if they've ever used Google Earth. A lot of students don't even realize, or Google Maps. So a lot of students don't realize that they use GIS all the time. So if you ever have used Google Maps, you have used a GIS. So a GIS allows you to have some map that acts as a container, and then you can put data on top of it to tell a story. So I was excited to see the Hawaiʻi Afterschool Alliance has a map of where all the summer programs are. And if you click on one of those pins, you'll hopefully get a pop-up and that'll tell you what's going on at that location, right? And these types of maps are really powerful visuals and they allow us to tell really powerful stories. And remember, a lot of our girls are in creative media, they're into storytelling. So let's add that data science to it. Let's add those geospatial technologies to this. So in this ArcGIS Online, it's really easy to start making a map in just 4 steps. So you can choose an area where you want to make your map for. So maybe up here in the toolbar, I'll type Hawaii. Can I take us in? I can zoom in further if I want. I'm actually located on Oahu, so I'll zoom into Oahu. Then you can decide what you want to show. So you have up here base maps and lots of different base maps. So remember, the base map is a container for your data, and different types of themes might require a different type of base map. So this goes into that creativity and that visual storytelling that our girls really love. Okay, I usually go with imagery, satellite imagery, but it depends on what story you want to tell. If you're telling like a historical story, you're doing historical imagery, a lot of folks will choose this base map. So once you choose your base map, your container that you'd like to use, then you get to add data to your map. So you can add data by clicking the add button. And there's lots of different ways you can add data. So you can add it from something that's called the Living Atlas. And this is just a cloud storage of tons and tons and tons of geospatial data that's been collected by authoritative sources, people like NOAA, USGS, state government agencies, scientific research. So that's free data that's there for anyone to use. You can get data from a website, from your desktop, or you can draw it yourself. So adding map notes just lets you draw on your map by yourself. Let's go ahead over to the Living Atlas. Okay, so from the Living Atlas, you can see we have 6,215 different layers, and they're everything from like elevation, slope, you could get land cover, satellite data, forest type. And if you want to know more about it, you click the little plus button to add. Okay, so I had hit that little plus button and it added the data to my base map. And now you can see in just a click of 2 buttons, I have a map of all the forest types in the United States. And if you click on it, you'll be able to see that that is representing Douglas fir. The computer's a little slow because I'm on Zoom here. Yellow poplar, white oak. So you get the spatial information. And the beautiful thing is that you can then start to do data analysis. Well, how does forest type relate to other vegetation types? Or how does forest type change over time. Maybe I have a forest type, a forest land cover from 2020, and then I have a forest land cover from 2000. You can compare them then to see, well, how did it change over time, over a 20-year time period, and tell the story of maybe deforestation. Okay, so all this data exists, it's free, it's there in a click of a couple buttons, you're able to use it and can start doing data analysis. So it can be very simple. I teach 6 different GIS classes at the University of Hawaii, so it gets very complex as well. So it's simple to start and you can become very sophisticated in this skill. So I want to show you from there, you would save it and you'd add a title. You can add a description for it. And then once you save anything, it goes to your content. And your content is just like a Google Drive. So in your Google Drive or your content here, you have everything that you've ever saved, and then you can use it in what is called a story map. All right, so I'm going to get out of this demo. And I want to show you an example of a story map that one of my girls, Amy, made. And she really cared about climate change. She was wanting to learn more about climate change, and she wanted to look at Greenland ice sheets and rising global temperatures. So she created this whole thing, this whole package is called a story map. And a story map is just like a Google Doc. So in here, we can see that she can tell the story. And then we use maps to actually illustrate, this is a map tour, where these different glaciers are located. So location 1, location 2, and we can take a tour around the Greenland ice sheet. Okay, so that helps to give you that visual. She can build in time lapse of sea surface temperature and how temperature is increasing over time. And then a beautiful thing is you can do the change. So here she's showing you the left image is what the ice sheet looked like in the year 2000. And if we swipe, this is what it looked like in the year 2020. All right, so these visuals are a really powerful way to communicate stories. Okay, and our girls are often driven by being able to share these types of stories that have some meaningful real world impact. We have lots of stories too. So this is a natural environment one, but we also have stories of related to Mo'olelo around the state of Hawaii. So you can share stories that are culturally related as well as physical science and natural related. And you can do both using geospatial sciences and maps. Okay, so that's my quick GIS demo. So like I said, that's my very, very favorite one. I love that we get to combine that storytelling, the different technologies, satellite imagery, drone imagery, GIS points that we're taking on the ground, and we also get to do data analysis to tell stories. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to turn it over to Brittany James, and she's going to share a little bit about our agricultural programs and our Unplugged Engineering Design challenges. And Brittany, if you do have those seeds and everything, Brittany, it will walk you through one of these Unplugged challenges that we do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany. I have my lovely 3-year-old child with me today, so I'll apologize for any craziness and shenanigans that happen in the process, but go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right, so I figured we'd jump right in talking about our STEMworks Agriculture Program. So I started with STEMworks in July of 2020, and then we decided that we wanted to kind of grow this agriculture program. It wasn't as big of a component of STEMworks before. You know, we had summer internships and there might be like a couple of ag companies, you know, within the summer internship programs, but we really thought that agriculture was an important thing, and that, you know, COVID and everything kind of made everybody realize how insecure Hawaii is, right? We depend on the mainland sources to import all of our food, and we really need to be growing our agriculture base here in the islands more so that, you know, we can be more food secure and, you know, promote some more jobs outside of the tourist industry as well. So we started doing internship programs year round. So traditionally STEMworks has always done internships in the summer only. And we wanted to try and see like how it would work having internship programs during the school year as well, right? And getting kids engaged year round in internships. So of course we started piloting this in the middle of COVID, so in the fall of 2020. So not like it's been kind of interesting, I guess, to see like what the trends are, because obviously each semester has been completely different and there's always been like cases going up and down and everything. So yeah, but overall, I think it's been going pretty well and we've been increasing our numbers. I'll go over that a little bit more in the next slide, but the Ag Internship Program is open to students within Maui County. It's mainly high school students. I mean, undergraduates could apply as well. Usually we like it to be our STEMworks alumni undergraduates that apply to the program. So students during the fall and spring would work 10 weeks and they would work 15 to 20 hours per week. So it's about 150 hours each semester that they end up getting. And at the end of their internship, they get a stipend as well. And then they do weekly professional development events with us and meetings to kind of promote career readiness and you know, the different ag industry sector industries. Sorry, just a second, guys. And I need to get her set up real quick. Sorry. So, and at the end of it, they also do a showcase presentation where, you know, they create a recorded video presentation that kind of outlines what they did and learned throughout their internship for, you know, their mentors, teachers, friends, parents, community members can all come and support them. So when it originally started, we kind of started just on Maui and then we've expanded to, you know, Molokai and Lanai. This is an example of our current internship program that we're going to start running here in the summer, this flyer here. So during the summer, they work 25 to 30 hours a week over a 6-week time period instead. And I try to get host companies that are from all different industries within agriculture, because I want the students to realize that agriculture is more than just farming and ranching, which I think is a little bit of a turnoff to many students, right? They kind of look at that and think that it's hard work, and which it is. I'm not saying it isn't, but you know, I want students to realize that there's so much more to agriculture than just farming and ranching, which are important, of course, yes, but you know, students could go into more of a business management setting into it, right? They could be agricultural engineers, they can go into ag research, they could be a teacher of agriculture. You know, there's different methods of agriculture like hydroponics, aquaponics, aquaculture. You know, agriculture also, you know, embodies like forestry and natural resources a lot as well. So there's like so many different areas that students can go into, and that's like my main goal of these internships is to like one, expose them to agriculture careers and let them see that, you know, they can do a lot more than just farm and ranch. And two, you know, there's a major labor shortage in agriculture right now as well. You know, and a lot of the people that are in agriculture currently are in retirement age, pretty much, right? So we need more young people to go into the ag industry in order to keep it going, especially here in Hawaii, you know, with the loss of like our sugarcane industries and all that. And pineapple is not as big as it used to be either, right? A lot of our major industries that we had are kind of disappearing. So you see a lot more like really small farms, and then there's a couple of larger farms like Mahi Pono, for example. So yeah, just trying to get students to go into ag in one way or another, right? Whether it be as a farmer, a rancher, or a processor, or a researcher, or an engineer, or whatever makes them happy, right? They can develop different things for agriculture, go into food science. There's so many things that they can do, and I don't think students really realize all of that. So that's kind of the point of that. And then on the left side of the screen here, I wanted to kind of showcase our STEMworks solutions challenges that we do a little bit. So we do monthly challenges for different STEM sectors. And this past February, we did one for the agriculture sector. And we partnered with Mahi Pono in order to get high school students to come up with solutions to challenges that Mahi Pono faces, like everyday real world challenges, right? So the challenges that they needed to, the problems they had to come up with solutions for were, how to mitigate dust from happening and dust clouds that are produced throughout the central Maui region from lack of ground cover. And then they also needed to come up with ways to support citrus trees, because the wind kind of blows through and all the trees end up being like slanted and everything. So, and then I kind of showcased our first place winner here. So this is technically the first and second place winning teams in this photo that's on here, but they were both from King Kekaulike High School. And our first place winner came up with the solutions for mitigating dust planting cover crops, and he focused on white clover. And he wanted to use that because, it's a small ground cover. It's not going to require a whole lot of mowing or anything. And it can also be utilized, as helping our pollinators, and could help them expand into like beekeeping, apiary, and they could do a lot more with it if they planted things like clover. Right, and it's a nitrogen fixing plant as well. And then he came up with a design for helping to keep the fruit trees upright, which is in this bottom left corner here, which he named Solar Break. So basically it is a solar panel that is on a slant. So it's like a slanted windbreak to kind of help break up the wind from hitting the trees and everything. So he'd used a 3D modeling and all of that to kind of come up with his design. And he talked to people within like the solar industry and ag industries to kind of help, model his plan. So yeah, we do these every so often, every few months or so, we do different challenges for industries and different different STEM sectors and everything. And yeah, so this was just the agriculture one. So it is pretty exciting. So a little bit back into girls in ag. So the 2017 Ag Census, I know there's a new one coming out soon, so the numbers might change slightly, but we'll see. So it says that women make up to 36% of our US farmers and producers, which is not a whole lot at all, right? Only about a third of them. So agriculture is definitely a male dominated sector for the most part, right? And we have been seeing more women increasingly come into it. And then you can kind of look here, there's a lot more stats onto women in agriculture and everything, and it kind of breaks it down a lot more throughout the whole entire US. And if it will load. So like, for example, more than half of farms have at least one female producer on it, right? So a lot of farms are family farms, right? So it might be that the man is the person on the, the TMK and everything that's listed as the business owner, right? But there's usually maybe a female, his wife or something like that behind him that's also helping out as well. So it's not to say that, you know, women are absent in agriculture. They just, you know, aren't necessarily always the main person that's listed as the owner. So, but with that, we've been trying to, you know, increase our girls within agriculture and in STEM and everything, and through our internship programs. So in the fall of 2020, you know, when we first piloted the program, we only had 5 interns, but 3 out of 5 of them were girls. And in the spring, 4 out of 10, summer of 2021, 10 out of 18, fall 12 of 17. This past spring, we had 7 out of 9 of the interns were girls. So it's been pretty good. And we've been attracting quite a bit of girls throughout our internships and everything. And I feel like it's been kind of increasing a little bit each time. You know, I don't know what it's going to be for this summer yet, but overall, about 61% of the girls within our STEMworks Agriculture Internship Program, you know, have been, or have, okay, 61% of the participants have been girls, sorry. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So I think that, you know, which is also interesting when you think about it, because when you think about ag classes, it's traditionally boys that are in the agriculture classes, right? If you go to a high school ag class right now in the state of Hawaii, it's going to be majority boys. So why are all these girls, you know, getting in? I'd say that a lot of the girls that are in the ag classes really want to be there. They are really interested. I do really try to make sure that girls are represented on the flyers as well, so that they can see themselves, you know, in these internship positions as well. And I think that, you know, girls traditionally have always been, you know, in caring type roles, and a lot of girls like to care for the Aina. They like to care for plants and they want to see things grow and everything. So I think that kind of attracts them. And then of course, a lot of girls also are really interested in like veterinary science and caring for animals too. So that also brings them into our internships as well. That's kind of an overview of our ag internship program. So I will move into our STEMworks Unplugged Engineering Design Challenge. So this one that we can all kind of do together is called Plant Adaptations, or Clever Seeds. So this is kind of what it looks like when we send these weekly unplugged challenges to our teachers. Our teachers really wanted something that would get the kids away from the screens so that they could, you know, apply the engineering design process in, you know, hands-on way. And it's something that doesn't necessarily require a whole lot of prep time either for the teachers, so they can easily fit it within their regular curriculum throughout the week, and kind of pick and choose which ones, and they can do it at different times. They don't necessarily have to do it within the week that we want to do it. So basically we try to challenge the teachers to do it within the week that we want them, you know, to do it. And then there's prizes each week, you know, for different grade brackets. So K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. And everybody will submit their pictures of their submissions or videos. And it's been pretty exciting and cute to see what everybody comes up with, you know, and I think it's great, and it allows the students to realize that, you know, engineering doesn't have to be just like big buildings and bridges and big scary mathematical concepts and everything like that, right? It's solving simple everyday problems, and this is what the engineering design challenges do. So today we are going to design a seed cover that moves a falling seed away from the base of a tree. Seeds should not fall straight down when they are dropped, right? So then basically there's like different questions here that you guys can kind of pose to students and everything to kind of get them thinking a little bit. So, and then it gives a little bit of a background so that the teachers don't necessarily have to do a whole lot of prep if they don't necessarily have like the knowledge base for each of these challenges, right? So, trees and plants have adapted many different ways to survive and thrive in nature. And that includes spreading their seeds, right? And my next slide kind of gives some examples a little bit, and I'll go back to that slide again in a second. But so yeah, there's multiple ways that seeds have adapted over time and been able to disperse, right? Because if a seed falls straight, I don't know where the pig went. If a seed falls straight to the ground, right, it's not as likely to grow, especially if it's like a tree, for example. All of the cover is going to keep it shaded, so the light isn't necessarily going to come and help with the germination of that seed, right? So it's best if the seed is carried away in some way, right, so that it can germinate elsewhere and thrive and move on. So there's multiple ways that happens, wind, water, animals, explosions, and fire. So you can easily get some photos for your students to just kind of show them examples, right? So like maple trees have the little helicopters. If any of you grew up around maple trees as a child, you probably threw them up in the air and watched them like spin down to the ground, right? Dandelions are the little floating puffy things at the end. When you blow them, they fly away with the wind, right? This is a picture of our, native Hawaiian crow, which is extremely endangered right now, almost extinct. I think there's less than 100 of them in survival, but most of our native plants require birds to disperse our seeds, right? So since a lot of our native birds no longer exist anymore, we've had to rely on non-native birds to disperse seeds. They do that by eating it and pooping out seeds further on, or putting it in their beaks and flying off and dropping it, things like that. And then this is mangrove seeds here floating in the water. So they drop down from the tree, float down the river, estuaries, things like that, to other locations. And then of course there's plenty of plants that have some sort of burr, sticky, velcro-y action going on that will carry the seeds away. And then coconuts, also another form of water. And then of course you have your explosions, which fall into the touch me not plant category here. So things like water drop onto the seeds and then they explode out. So that's like a very excessive example of explosion. It's not always like that. It could be just like drying seeds and then you step on them and the seed pod explodes, something like that, right? And then everybody thinks forest fires are bad, which I'm not saying they are great, but part of forest fires is that it also allows for new growth. So pine cones require a forest fire in order to germinate, right? So it gets rid of that older dead growth within there, and that's why controlled burning can be really good in forests as well, to kind of get rid of that understory to allow for new things to germinate and grow. So back to our engineering design challenge. So the rules, right? Your students can use any materials. If you're not sure where to start, you can use, sunflower seeds, pumpkin, watermelon seeds, paper, tissue paper, paper clips, scissors, tape, feathers, any sort of craft supplies, really, anything that you have around. So basically the point is that your seeds are going to fall away from a drop point, and the drop point can be kind of up to you as to how you want the drop point to be, right? If you're kind of standing on a ladder, dropping it, or just standing up regularly, or if you, in this case, I kind of used a prop. I'm going to stop sharing and just kind of bring it up to regular screen because I think this will be easier. So in my mind, I was trying to make it as realistic as possible and thinking like, this is my tree, right? It's just like a Dawn soap thing. And so when I was trying to think of how am I going to get these seeds, I got sunflower seeds here to get away from this tree, right? So I originally thought I'll take a piece of paper and, you know, kind of wrap the seed around it. So it would do this like curlicue action. And in my mind, I pictured it kind of like being wrapped up tightly, and then it would unwind all the way and like kind of drop it. And it didn't exactly work that way. So I just kind of placed the seed in there, and then imitating the wind, just kind of blew it. And then the seed ended up over there, which is like far away from the drop point, right? And then I thought my child like took off with one of my paper airplanes. So basically, so then I made a paper airplane, right? Just cut a little square with scissors and paper. And then I used tape to kind of tape it together. And I thought, well, it should probably hook on to the tree. And so I like opened this up and kind of put this here, you know, and I stuffed the seed inside the paper airplane. But it didn't really like work out super well for me when I did it that way. So then I thought maybe I'm overthinking it. So I just made a regular paper airplane and stuck the seed inside and put it in and just kind of put it there, and then it like flew away, right? So again, up to interpretation. It doesn't necessarily have to be like this at all. It could literally be like you're dropping it from a point and it's flying away, right? So I don't know if you guys want to try it for the next couple minutes or so and see what you guys come up with. And I'm sure you can probably come up with some better ideas than I did, but yeah, that's kind of what I came up with on the fly. So, yeah, any questions?
Great work, Brittany. Does anyone have the supplies? Did you want to give it a try? Oh, we got Sarah has it.
And I see Tosa also
Oh,
trying.
Tosa, yeah. Oh, I see the helicopter one for Tosa. So we've had, I think we started doing the Unplugged Engineering Design Challenges in November because students came back and our teachers just expressed, you know, they are so burned out on everything being on a computer after, you know, so many years of this online learning. So we've done them for quite a few different topics. We try to hit all sectors of STEM. The one before this was a boat challenge, and they had to make a boat paddle across some area of water. And we had teachers that created this huge, they had like containers filled with water, and the student came up with really brilliant designs. So rubber band powered boats, wind powered boats, so stuff I would have never thought of. And so the great thing is I get to see that engineering is about solving problems. It doesn't always have to include math. That it's a really easy entry point to getting them to think about engineering in a different way. And they'll fail, like Brittany, her ideas didn't work, and that's the best part of engineering is that you're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, you got to try a lot of different iterations. And I do want to take a note on what as part of like NGSS, so if any of you are teaching with NGSS, you never want to short circuit learning. So you wouldn't show them all the different ways that seeds have adapted first. You would let them go through this process of thinking about things, being creative, go through the failure process, and hopefully that they would come up with some adaptations. They're going to see that when they drop their first design, it still drops straight down. All right, well, let's think about things in nature that fly. How do they fly? How could they incorporate that? So you let them go through that struggle, and then at the end, you would show them, you know, these examples or pictures of things that, you know, well, this is how they have adapted in nature. And maybe one of their discoveries match something that they're going to learn about how seeds adapted in nature. So we allow them to go through that discovery process. Well, I see some of you hard at work. For others, we're happy to answer any questions you might have about any of our programs or strategies that we take. Maybe we can just talk story. It's a quiet group. Can I call on you? Can I ask, how are you engaging girls in your programs? Toss, I love it. You have to come up with prizes. Hi, Malia. I think you raised your hand.
Hi, I can answer your question if that's okay.
Yeah.
So like with girls, I'm at Waialua High and Intermediate. So we have like a really big robotics program here, especially for like the elementary schools too. That's really big. So that's one way. I know a decent amount of girls are in it. I would say that it is a lot of boys, but there are girls involved. So that's really good. And then we just started a girls club, which isn't like focused on STEM and engineering, but we do like a little bit of STEM, and then we do STEM classes in general too. And then all of our program leaders are women. So I mean, that's really engaging. And I would say that we actually have a lot of boys at our school in general. Like we have a big population of boys, I've noticed. So it is good for us to have program leaders who are women, and then be able to like draw in those female students and get their attention. But yeah, like same thing, like how you were talking about with media and storytelling and like farming, like those types of things that girls find engaging. Like I see that as well, you know, with TikTok and like dancing and art. So we try to like do as much as we can to reach out to them and get them involved in the program.
I love it. And I also want to mention, we always try to encourage in our after school program the girls to think about things that they're doing in the context of STEM. So an example of that would be on our Tinker Club. We had a girl that was designing jewelry and she was using epoxy. So we had the teacher think and break it out to her. All right, well, how is this STEM? How is making jewelry STEM? Well, she was using lots of different technology. She was using engineering to assemble the different pieces that she's making. She's using math to think about her economics behind her business model. So we're going to use math to think, well, how much would I have to sell it for to make a profit, and how many would I have to sell? So even things that they're doing, you know, in some of the other clubs, you can get them to shift their mindset and say, oh, this is STEM. You know, there are things that we're doing here that involves math, science, technology, and engineering. And with the epoxy, that's science, right? She's learning about the chemistry and what's going on that allows that epoxy to go from a liquid to a solid hardened state. So a lot of things our girls are already doing can be put into that STEM framework. Yeah, we work with Venture Labs too, Tasa. They were just at our Hawaii STEM conference. I love Scott. He's brilliant with the kids.
And he's coming back in August. So he's going to be in our conference. So everybody's going to be able to see Scott.
Maybe we can join the conference as well.
Yeah, you should come. You should come. But I would love to hear other examples from programs about how you encourage girls to participate in STEM activities.
Thanks, Paula. Anything anyone else wants to share? Your lessons learned or things you've observed in your programs? Can all learn from each other.
Well, something that I really like, Katie, that you said at the beginning is about messaging and images, right? That you share that if the images are all superheroes men, you know, is something that boys are going to identify than girls, right? And I remember going into school and there was this poster. I don't remember if this is an old movie, but it's called The Whale Rider. It's a movie from New Zealand with the Maori community. And the poster had the image of her, of the girl in the movie, the Whale Rider protagonist, and a message was, courage is not defined by gender, right? And if you watch the movie, it has a lot to do with the movie itself about this girl being brave. But I think those kind of messages encourage girls also to think about STEM in a different way, that they can be part of, right? That is not just for boys.
Yeah, the engineering, the superhero one, I think was most shocking to me because it was during an engineering sector partnership where they were specifically talking about the lack of girls in engineering. So even that group that was specifically targeting girls wasn't the person making the graphic, didn't think about that representation in the graphics. So we all have to think about how we're messaging, what types of representation are going into our visuals and our graphics that are advertising different programs.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's almost 11, 1 minute to 11. And Mandy put the evaluation link in the chat. So please complete it because we want to hear from you. And but I would like to thank our presenters, our facilitators, and all of you for being here today. Please check our website. Please check STEMworks website for more resources, and always feel free to contact us if you have any questions or ideas and anything that we can support you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.